Mike Hadrias talks to GQ about politics, his separate on-stage and off-stage personas, and what HES like when HES not being Perfume genius. As Perfume genius, musician Mike Hadrias makes quiet songs for private moments. Real spiritual, intimate stuff meant just to be heard by a small handful of people. But you'd never know that if you saw him on stage, dancing in hyper-high-waisted pinstripe trousers, before an audience rapt by his performance. This is at Brooklyn Steel at the end of May, and the huge crowd is mouthing all the words to the songs on No Shape, his latest opus, even though it has come out a mere 2 weeks earlier. No Shape is the bravest, brashest Perfume genius performance yet, drawing the private parts of Hadrias' life into public, anthemic view. Carefully layered and textured guitars and electronics carry his soulful, fragile crooning god, that voice. The record expands and contracts the way a heart beats. In some moments, it's withdrawn and spiritual, made for one. In others, No Shape is pure, raw emotion for many. The best songs swing from one to the other, and to experience that shift at an 1,800-person venue is otherworldly, surrounded by strangers feeling the same thing. But how did Mike Hadrias take those personal demons and make them public? How did he take a largely introverted persona and turn it into a monster stage presence? The answer lies in the making of the record itself. No Shape was an attempt to push beyond Hadrias' comfort zone. It was about being unafraid, feeling able to try anything without fearing failure. When he started Perfume Genius, he didn't expect anyone to listen. But people did listen, and they loved it, and they wrote to Hadrias telling him so. Now he writes with them in mind. The whole thing that I do is vaguely therapeutic and personal, but I kind of know that it's going to those people that come to my shows, he says. I twist it into something not universal but helpful to the people I've met. You know, that awareness shows up in Hadrias' shows as well. It used to be enough for me to get on stage and sing. It's not anymore. I kind of crave the performance part now. I write knowing it's going to happen, which I didn't do before. Hadrias used to wear his street clothes in concert. Now he has a stage outfit. He's delineating his real self from his touring self. Mike Hadrias is the person, and Perfume Genius is the performer. He cites Björk as an example of an artist who understands just how much to let people in and how much to hide. And for an introvert who wrestles with psychic wounds, you might be surprised to learn that touring makes him feel better. I'm forced to meet people every day, forced to be around people. I'm uncomfortable and anxious all the time. On tour I feel way more alive. Every tour ends eventually, though, and being home is at least as important to Hadrias and his partner, Alan Whiffles, as being on the road. Whiffles plays in the Perfume Genius band. We like living in a house. We like having things be quiet, Hadrias says, of their home in Tacoma, Washington, a mid-sized city south of Seattle. It's a peaceful existence. They like living in a nice house. But every once in a while, they feel the pull of a bigger city, like Los Angeles, partly for the food, partly for the people. I like seeing all the gay people everywhere and all the gamers. I play a lot of role-playing games on the computer. And I always have, Hadrias says. Right now HES into old-school isometric ones, like Baldur's Gate, Pillars of Eternity, and Divinity. It makes sense on tour. On stage, Hadrias is role-playing a higher, amplified self. At home, it's on his computer. Because it's 2017, and because Hadrias is who he is, a thoughtful introvert, and a hell of a musician, I ask about politics, and the strain of hate that's arisen since Donald Trump's election. I've known that people were racist and misogynistic and homophobic since I was very little. But I feel like they're a little more brazen or proud or open, he replies. I don't have any hope. Zero. Hadrias continues, people keep talking about how some good is gonna come out of this, some good art. But people are being killed on the street. I don't think art matters as much as keeping people safe. Hadrias is right, but he also makes the kind of art that provides its own kind of safety. Before he became Perfume Genius, something was missing from Mike Hadrias' life, a hole he filled with drinking and drugs, which at the time gave him a momentary sense of peace. A sense of purpose, an unfulfilled yearning to be helpful. But just as music has given those things to him, it also gives something to the people who love his records. I'm taken back to that night at Brooklyn Steel, where I watched those 1,800 people bewitched by everything Hadrias had to offer. It was hard to tell whether the crush of people around me were crying or praying or exulting or all three at once. Later, I told Hadrias the show was like going to church. He said he was into that.